The January window is only just opening, but at Ibrox there is already a clear sense that important decisions are starting to shape what lies ahead. The club has moved early, setting a tone that suggests this month will not be treated as routine, but as a foundation for wider changes, both on and off the pitch. Every move now feels loaded with meaning because Rangers know that momentum at this stage of the season can influence not just results, but belief, direction, and stability going forward. On the pitch, attention quickly turned to the return of a familiar figure at the heart of the defence. John Souttar's first start since the early weeks of November was more than just another appearance. On the team sheet, it was a reminder of what Rangers have missed during his absence and a test of whether his body could once again handle the demands of regular football. Against St. Mirren, he stepped back into the centre of defence with authority, reading the game well, offering composure in possession, and showing strength when Rangers were forced to defend deeper. His involvement lasted most of the match, and when he was withdrawn late on, it was not a reflection of his performance, but a careful decision shaped by weeks of planning and caution. The head coach made it clear afterwards that protecting the defender was the priority after such a long spell out. The last thing Rangers can afford is a setback that sends him back to the treatment room. The decision to take him off was about managing risk, not doubting his contribution. From the sidelines, the coaching staff were encouraged by how comfortable he looked in the build-up play and how decisive he was when the ball came into the box. For a player who has battled inconsistency through injury rather than form, that display felt like a positive step forward. Beyond the 90 minutes, however, Souttar's situation carries far greater significance. His current deal is due to expire at the end of the season, and that reality hangs over every appearance he makes. Talks over a new contract are ongoing, and while nothing has been finalized, there is a sense that the club knows exactly where it stands. Rangers are clear about how they value him, clear about the role they see for him moving forward, and quietly optimistic that an agreement can be reached. For the manager, keeping experienced players fit and available is crucial, especially as the fixture list tightens and the pressure intensifies. That pressure will be immediate, with the demanding trip to face Celtic next on the calendar. Derby matches always carry their own weight, but this one arrives at a moment when Rangers are trying to build rhythm and confidence. Their rivals come into the fixture after a setback of their own, and that only adds another layer of unpredictability. For Rangers, the challenge is not just about the result, but about showing resilience, structure, and belief against the strongest opposition they will face domestically. While attention often gravitates towards team selection and tactics, there has also been significant movement behind the scenes. Rangers have confirmed their first major off-field decision of the window with the appointment of a new chief commercial officer. This is not a minor administrative change, but a strategic move that speaks to how the club sees its future. After months with the position unfilled, the arrival of a figure with extensive experience in managing major venues and commercial operations signals intent. The new appointment steps into a role that covers ticketing, hospitality, retail, and sponsorship, areas that directly affect the club's ability to compete financially. With long-term discussions already underway about improving the stadium and enhancing the matchday experience, his background aligns closely with what Rangers are exploring. The leadership at the club has taken a hands-on approach to reshaping the executive structure, and this decision represents the first clear outcome of that process. Experience has been a key factor. Having worked at some of the most high-profile venues in world sport, he brings an understanding of how to maximize both revenue and fan engagement without losing the identity of a historic club. Rangers are not just thinking about the next transfer window or the next season, but about how Ibrox can evolve in a way that respects tradition while embracing modern demands. This appointment feels like a building block rather than a headline grabber, but its impact could be felt for years. All of this forms part of a wider period of transition. Recent departures at executive level created uncertainty, and there was a sense that Rangers needed clarity and direction off the pitch as much as on it. This move suggests that the club is beginning to settle that side of its operations, allowing football matters to be addressed with greater focus. It also marks the first confirmed step in a broader restructuring phase, one that is likely to continue as the months unfold. Looking further ahead, conversations around squad rebuilding refuse to go away. There is a growing expectation that change is coming, particularly in the summer, when the manager will have greater freedom to shape the squad in his image. January is widely seen as a window for minor adjustments rather than wholesale reform, but that does not mean it is insignificant. Adding even one or two players who fit the system and raise standards can have a knock-on effect across the group. Former voices around the club have suggested that only a small core of the current squad would be guaranteed a place in next season's plans. That assessment reflects frustration with inconsistency rather than a lack of talent. Certain areas, particularly in midfield, are viewed as relatively strong, with players showing progression and adaptability. Other positions, especially out wide and in attack, are under greater scrutiny, where output and decision-making need to improve. If Rangers are to compete at the highest level, defensive contracts also loom large. With players approaching the end of their deals, decisions must be made about who forms the backbone of the team moving forward. Sutar's situation is emblematic of that wider dilemma. Keeping experienced defenders who understand the demands of the club can provide continuity, but it must be balanced against the need to refresh and strengthen. In midfield, there is belief that certain players still have another level to reach, and that under the right guidance, they can become more consistent contributors. What feels different this time is the sense that these decisions cannot be delayed or mishandled. Rangers have spoken before about rebuilding cycles and long-term plans, but patience among the support is thin. The coming windows, particularly the summer, will require accuracy rather than volume. Recruitment has to be sharp, targeted, and aligned with a clear football identity. Mistakes will be costly, not just financially, but in terms of momentum and trust. As things stand, Rangers find themselves at a crossroads where every choice matters. Early business in the window, careful management of returning players, ongoing contract talks, and significant appointments off the pitch all point towards a club trying to steady itself and move forward with purpose. The weeks ahead promise pressure, scrutiny, and no shortage of debate, especially as big fixtures loom and long-term questions demand answers, and that sense of anticipation continues to build with every passing day. As the focus remains firmly on progress rather than promises, the conversation around Rangers continues to evolve with a mix of realism and expectation. There's an understanding that this season has already tested patience, but there is also a belief that the foundations being laid now could define what comes next. The manager's influence is becoming clearer, not through dramatic statements, but through subtle shifts in approach, selection, and messaging that hint at a longer-term vision taking shape. January, in that sense, is less about sweeping change and more about setting standards. Rangers are unlikely to tear up the squad mid-season, especially with key fixtures still to be played and objectives very much alive. Instead, the emphasis is on stability, fitness, and incremental improvement. That is why the careful handling of returning players has stood out. There is no rush to overload individuals who have been sidelined, no temptation to gamble with bodies just to chase short-term gains. It is a calculated approach that reflects lessons learned the hard way in recent seasons. The derby on the horizon adds another layer to that balancing act. Matches of that magnitude can define narratives in an instant, but within the camp, the message has been about performance as much as outcome. Rangers know that belief grows from structure and discipline, from players trusting the system and each other under pressure. Showing that identity on the biggest stage is as important as any 3 points because it reinforces the direction the team is heading in. Away from match days, the club's leadership is clearly aware that football success is inseparable from strong foundations off the pitch. The recent appointment at executive level is part of a broader attempt to modernize operations while keeping the club's identity intact. Rangers are a club with enormous global reach, but translating that passion into sustainable growth requires expertise and long-term planning, enhancing the matchday experience, exploring improvements to the stadium, and strengthening commercial performance are not abstract ideas anymore, but active discussions that are beginning to gather pace. This period also invites reflection on recruitment, an area that has drawn criticism in the past. The challenge now is not simply to bring players in, but to ensure that every addition fits the tactical and cultural demands of the club. There is an acceptance that past windows have left the squad unbalanced, with certain areas overloaded and others lacking depth or quality. Correcting that requires patience and clarity rather than panic. Voices close to the club continue to suggest that the most significant changes will come in the summer when there is time to reset properly. That does not diminish the importance of what happens now. January can be a window of opportunity to remove uncertainty, secure key contracts, and perhaps add 1 or 2 players who raise competition levels immediately. Even small adjustments can change the dynamic within the dressing room, sharpening focus and accountability. The midfield remains a focal point in these discussions. It is seen as an area with genuine potential where players have shown they can dictate games when confidence is high. The challenge is consistency, maintaining intensity across long stretches of the season rather than in isolated performances. With the right balance around them, there is belief that this group can become a real strength, capable of controlling matches rather than reacting to them. In contrast, attacking areas are under closer examination. Rangers expect more in terms of end product, creativity, and decision-making in the final third. It is not just about goals, but about efficiency and composure in moments that decide tight matches. Those are the margins that separate strong seasons from frustrating ones, and they are the margins the manager is determined to address over time. Defensively, the conversation circles back to reliability and leadership. Players returning from injury bring hope, but also questions about durability. Contract situations add complexity, forcing the club to weigh loyalty and experience against the need to plan ahead. Keeping a core of players who understand the pressure of playing for Rangers is valuable, but it must be complemented by fresh energy and hunger. Supporters are acutely aware that they have heard similar narratives before. Promises of rebuilds and fresh starts have come and gone, often without delivering the sustained success everyone craves. That is why there is a demand now for decisiveness and coherence. Rangers cannot afford another cycle of half measures. The next recruitment phase has to be aligned from boardroom to training ground, with everyone pulling in the same direction. What offers encouragement is the sense of alignment beginning to emerge. Communication from the club has been measured but purposeful, actions deliberate rather than reactive. There is an understanding that trust will not be rebuilt through words alone, but through consistent decision-making and visible progress. Each appointment, each contract discussion, each team selection feeds into that broader picture. As the season continues to unfold, Rangers find themselves navigating a complex landscape of immediate pressure and long-term ambition. Every match, every negotiation, every off-field decision contributes to shaping the club's trajectory. The spotlight will remain intense, particularly with high-stakes fixtures ahead and expectations never far from the surface. Yet, within that intensity lies opportunity, an opportunity to finally establish clarity after a period of uncertainty and to turn careful planning into meaningful progress as the months move on and the demands continue to rise. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Whispers across the Scottish football scene have taken a louder tone this week, with Rangers reportedly securing the signature of Scott McKenna. The Aberdeen stalwart, long admired for his composure at the back and towering presence in defence, is said to be poised for a move to Ibrox, sparking intrigue and plenty of chatter among the Geur faithful. Sources close to the player suggest that McKenna's arrival could signal a significant shift in Steven Gerrard's, or whoever steers the ship at Ibrox these days, defensive blueprint, adding a fresh layer of solidity to a backline that has occasionally shown cracks in high-pressure matches. While official announcements have teased fans with glimpses of the deal, much of the surrounding narrative remains in the realm of speculation. Could this be the start of a concerted effort to fortify the defence ahead of a grueling season? Rangers have long been linked with bolstering their squad, and McKenna's blend of aerial dominance, tactical awareness, and willingness to step out and initiate play from the back fits the profile of a modern centre-back the club seems to crave. Conversations in the corridors of Ibrox hint at a player who could become a cornerstone for years to come, perhaps even rivaling some of the legendary figures who have worn the blue jersey in decades past. Fans naturally are abuzz. Social media channels and fan forums brim with anticipation and debate. Some see McKenna as the missing piece in Rangers' defensive jigsaw, while others wonder how he will adapt to the pressures of playing for one of Scotland's biggest clubs. Beyond the tactical implications, there's also the psychological aspect. Bringing in a player of McKenna's caliber might send a signal to rivals that Rangers are intent on asserting dominance at both ends of the pitch. And yet, amid the excitement, caution lingers. Transfers rarely unfold without a twist, and the football world is no stranger to surprises. For now, the buzz remains a tantalizing mix of hope and uncertainty. Will Scott McKenna truly transform Ibrox's defensive landscape? Only time will tell, but the rumour alone is enough to get supporters talking, pundits theorising, and rival fans keeping a wary eye on what might be a game-changing addition. In the theatre of Scottish football, The arrival of a new wall at Ibrox is the sort of story that sets imaginations alight, and McKenna's name is at the center of it. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned